Hello, I'm Pastor Scott Ingram from Omega Baptist Church in White Pine, Tennessee, and I'm glad you could join me here today as I discuss a difference between the KJV and the NKJV. Sometimes we see these differences and we wonder why they're occurring, and sometimes people have here recently said that I lean more towards the New King James Version. Well, sometimes I think the New King James Version doesn't exactly get it right. Sometimes I don't think the KJV exactly helps us understand it either because it's of an older translation. But I've always said this. I've always said that the KJV is more exact, painstakingly exact, even so much so that we might not understand right away what's being said, while the New King James Version attempts to bring something out as being more instantly understandable. So today I'm going to look at a KJV Only Meme and what he says there. He claims that this is an error in the text. I don't think it's an error, but I think it's a translation that probably relies too much on the modern understanding. So let's take a look at it here. This says, NKJV error blames common neurological disorder on demons. King James Bible, Matthew 17:15-18. Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore vexed, for oft times he falleth into the fire and off into the water. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Now, New King James Bible, Matthew 17:15-18. Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely, for he often falls into the fire and often into the water. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. And it goes on to say here, according to the Epilepsy Foundation, epilepsy is the fourth most common neurological disorder and affects people of all ages. Sometimes academics, it says, gets carried away with their own brilliance. The NKJV folks boldly and recklessly stepped out of their bounds and made a medical diagnosis with absolutely no training. The boy's problem was that he was possessed by a devil, as is clearly stated in the King James Bible, the world's most accurate Bible. Now, a few years ago, I made a video called What is the Difference in the KJV and the NKJV, and I go back and forth just sharing simple facts about the differences between these two translations. And one of those dealt with this word, epilepsy. And I'm going to show a little clip from that here, and then I'm going to come back and discuss that. It's looking at Matthew 4:24 instead of this passage. But we'll come back, we'll look at Strong's Concordance, we'll look at the Olive Tree Bible app, and see what's going on. Now, the attempts of the New King James Version to make the Hebrew and the Greek more understandable instantly can sometimes imply things, though, that aren't in the ancient text at all. Take a moment and look at Matthew 4:24. In this passage, we see Jesus is going out, and his fame is going out all over the world. And during this time, he is going out and healing various diseases. One of those diseases in Matthew 4:24, according to the King James Version, that he was helping those which were lunatic. In Matthew 4:24, though, in the New King James Version, it says it was helping those who were epileptics. Now, this Greek word actually means to be moonstruck. That's what the word actually means. Being moonstruck was an expression during the first century that became our modern term, lunatic. People seemed to have an idea back then that the moon could cause madness to fall upon people. But as we all really know, the word lunatic has come to mean crazy, right? Well, the New King James Version uses a definition of what this word means based on a modern idea that people in the first century didn't even know about. Now, the Strong's Concordance tells us that this meaning of this is doubtful, that it was epilepsy, as the Greeks knew nothing of epilepsy. The whole ideal of changing the word based on a modern assumption isn't wise and proposes an ideal into the text that was never there. So there is an advantage in having it be more literal, even though sometimes it isn't as instantly understandable. That's why you got to study the Bible instead of just read the Bible. All right, so there you see there is a difference there that is concerning with this word. So let's see, does that say that in Strong's Concordance? Let's go ahead and look in my handy-dandy Olive Tree Bible app and see what we see. Okay, and so here we are, and it says, they brought to him all sick people who were afflicted with various diseases and torments, those who were demon-possessed, epileptics, and paralytics, And over here in the King James it says, and those which were lunatic, there's the word we're looking for, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. Lunatic, you'll see here, meaning to be moonstruck, crazy, to be a lunatic. And I'll go over here and we'll see that's the same word we're seeing here for epileptics over here in the New King James Version. The Authorized Version has this twice. We're going to look at the other one here in a minute. To be moonstruck or lunatic, to be epileptic. And then it says this interpretation that gives this information, epilepsy being supposed to return and increase with the increase of the moon. This meaning is doubtful, as the Greeks knew nothing of epilepsy. So you see, that is the case that we see there, that this was not, this is a modern understanding being read back into the text with the moon changing and different things. That's the idea that's being represented here. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, but that's the idea of some modern translators. The good thing is the New King James Version does give us the literal meaning as well. Let's take a look at that. And while we don't see a footnote about that here, we do see it in the passage mentioned by the meme, where it says, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic and suffers severely. And of course, over here it says in the King James, for he is lunatic and sore vexed. Now, you'll notice here we have a little number 3 besides that epileptic, and this is that same word being used again. But here in this particular passage that the KJV Only is mentioned, he doesn't mention that they do have a footnote telling us that it is literally to be called moonstruck. So obviously they were trying to cover their tracks a little bit there and show both ideas of this word, especially in this text that the meme is referencing, because it does say that this person he is healed by having a demon come out from him. So sometimes you'll have differences in translation. Sometimes you'll have words that you don't necessarily like over another. But the good thing about the King James and the New King James is they're both translating the same traditional text. They're translating all the words out together that have been passed down to every generation. And therefore we can trust that. We can understand that we are at least getting the whole Word of God. And sometimes by looking at two translations, we can have some other meanings, some other understandings of what's going on as well. So I hope this has been helpful for you and enlightening. And if you have any comments or questions about it, please leave those in the comments below, and I look forward to answering those. Thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying the sermons here and have subscribed to my channel on YouTube, but I would love even more to meet with you in person at the church where I'm blessed to pastor at in White Pine, Tennessee, Omega Baptist Church.